You think after 10 years and all those lies, after you promised not to be with her, you can just be happy? I walked away quietly then, shattered. But honey, that's not the end of my story, just the beginning of yours. And it won't be a happy ending for you. My thumb hovered over the screen, the blue light of my phone illuminating the dark living room. It was late, way past when I usually called it a night, but sleep felt like a cruel joke. I'd been trying to put the pieces back together after the breakup, or what I thought was a mutual, albeit painful, parting of ways with Mark, my boyfriend of a decade. We were childhood sweethearts, for crying out loud. 10 years, a whole damn decade. Then, there it was, a shared photo, tagged by one of her friends, not just her, but the girl ID specifically asked him about, the one ID mentioned by name, asking him please, if we ever parted, not to be with her. Had looked me in the eye, swore there was nothing, that she was just some persistent girl he barely noticed. The picture showed them on a beach, laughing, arms around each other. Not a new picture either, by the looks of it. The background looked suspiciously like the place had said he went for a guy's trip last year. My breath hitched, my brain tried to process what my eyes were seeing, but the circuit kept blowing. This wasn't just them being together now. This photo, the way he was looking at her, the ease between them, it screamed history. A deep pain, sick feeling started bubbling in my stomach. This wasn't just happening now. The truth, a cold, hard, undeniable fact, slammed into me. He hadn't just moved on, had been with her all along. My good terms breakup was just a carefully orchestrated lie, designed to keep me quiet while he lined her up. That entire conversation ID had with him, that heartfelt plea about not wanting him with her, it had happened while he was already actively cheating, probably with her, probably doing the very things I was begging him not to do. The realization was a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. Now, they're out there, posting pictures, all smiles and sun-kissed skin, exchanging gifts, little bay, or exchanging gifts, little thoughtful things that popped up on my feed, from friends who didn't know better or just didn't care enough to block me from seeing it. They were doing all the things I had begged him to do for me. The flowers ID hinted at, then eventually just asked for directly, only to be met with an eye roll or a, I'm not good at that stuff. The thoughtful dates, the public displays of affection, the shared dreams of a future that felt so tangible to me. She gets it all, without even asking. It was like watching a highlight reel of the life ID meticulously planned with him, just starring different characters. My hands started to tremble, and a dull ache settled deep in my chest. He could do these things, he just wouldn't do them for me. I was never the one he wanted to put that effort into. The sheer audacity of it all, the complete lack of shame, made my head spin. I'm here, feeling like I've just survived a war, picking through the wreckage of a life I poured my soul into, while they're parading around, celebrating their new beginning as if my decade-long existence with him was just a blurry prelude to their main event. The image of their smiling faces, so carefree, so happy, burned behind my eyelids, and I realized, with a horrifying clarity, that for him, it truly was that simple. He just swapped me out. I don't even know where to begin. My whole reality has been warped, twisted into a cruel joke. How do I even start to reconcile the person I thought I knew for 10 years with this absolute stranger? How do you even begin to untangle yourself from a lie that was your entire foundation? Reddit, I'm completely lost. How do you move forward when the person you thought was your rock just pulls the rug out from under you and then dances on the debris with someone else? How do I even survive this? It's been weeks since I saw that photo, since my world officially tilted off its axis. But the truth is, the tilting never really stopped. Every time I open my phone, it's a minefield, a shared memory from a friend showing Mark at some event and their hand, in the periphery, she is, or an Instagram story from someone I vaguely know, a quick shot of a coffee shop, and in the reflection of the window, I catch a glimpse of their intertwined hands. It's not even that I'm actively looking for it anymore. It just finds me, and each time, it's like a fresh shockwave, reverberating through my system. I'd be sitting at my desk, trying to focus on work, and a thought would hit me. Are they having dinner right now? Is he telling her that stupid joke he used to tell me? My stomach would clench, my hands, without me even realizing, would start to shake. This wasn't just mental anguish anymore. My body was staging its own rebellion. I started throwing up in the mornings, sometimes just water, sometimes bile, because the sheer thought of him, of them, was physically repulsive. It was like my system was trying to purge the toxicity that had invaded every part of me. One time, I was just making coffee, and the memory of him humming in the kitchen, a routine we'd shared for so long, hit me so hard I dropped the mug. The crash of ceramic on tile sent me spiraling into a full-blown panic attack. My heart hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape, my lungs constricted, and I felt like I was drowning in thin air, right there on my own kitchen floor. The nights are the worst. Sleep has become this terrifying landscape I dread entering. I close my eyes, and almost immediately, the dreams start. Not just vague anxieties, but vivid, cruel. Replace him laughing, her hand in his, them walking into our favorite restaurant, him buying her the exact bouquet of lilies I always loved. I wake up in a cold sweat, gasping, feeling this overwhelming sense of dread. The air feels heavy, thick with the phantom presence of their happiness, and the clock hasn't even hit 3 a.m. yet. I'm left lying there, wide awake, the adrenaline coursing through me, feeling utterly depressed before the day has even properly begun. In the quiet moments, between the panic and the nightmares, a different kind of pain gnawed at me, the self-blame. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? If I had been prettier, more attentive, less stressed, would he have stayed? My brain, in some twisted logic, kept replaying every argument, every minor imperfection, trying to find the flaw in me that justified his actions. Intellectually, I knew it wasn't my fault. I knew his choices were his own, but the emotional part of me, the part that was so deeply hurt and rejected, just couldn't let go of the idea that I must have been lacking. I turned myself into this frustrated, desperate mess, trying to hold on to a man who, in hindsight, never valued me in the way I deserved. He just didn't, and that realization, that I was the one trying to make it work, was almost as crushing as the betrayal itself. One morning, after another night of broken sleep and waking up drenched in sweat, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot, my face pale and drawn. I was a shadow of myself, completely consumed. My body was breaking down. My mind was fractured. I can't do this anymore. That thought wasn't a question. It was a desperate, unyielding statement. This wasn't just sadness. This was trauma. I physically couldn't handle it. The idea of talking to a stranger, of laying out all this raw, messy pain, felt terrifying. It felt like admitting defeat, like being completely vulnerable. A huge part of me just wanted to curl up in bed and disappear. But then I looked at my reflection again, at the person who was slowly drowning, and I knew, if I didn't reach out, if I didn't find a lifeline, I wasn't gonna make it through this. I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking, and started searching for therapists. I've finally started going to therapy. It's raw, it's exhausting, and it feels like I'm opening up wounds that never fully healed. But I'm doing it. I just want to feel normal again. I want to stop hurting. I want this hell to end. How do you push through the absolute terror of confronting your deepest pain, especially when every fiber of your being just wants to retreat and hide from the world? I'm so scared I'm going to get stuck in this loop forever. Starting therapy felt like willingly walking into a fire. Each session was a grueling excavation, digging up layers of pain I'd tried to bury for years. Long before Mark's betrayal, my therapist, Dr. Lee, has a quiet way of listening, letting me talk until I hit a raw nerve, and then gently pushing me to explore it. I remember one session, I was recounting the exact moment I found that picture of Mark and her, how it felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I was talking about the physical sickness, the panic, the shaking. Dr. Lee just listened, then asked, "And what was the thought that kept circling in your mind during those moments?" I hesitated, trying to find the words. It was, I must have done something wrong. This wouldn't be happening if I was enough. That was the core of it, the constant self-blame. It felt like a loop, playing over and over. Every time I thought about Mark, my brain immediately went to my perceived shortcomings. It was exhausting. Dr. Lee didn't tell me I was wrong. She just asked, if someone else told you they loved their partner for 10 years, gave them everything, only to find out they were cheated on, would you tell that person it was their fault? The question hung in the air. No, I thought, of course not. My mind tried to make an exception for myself, but the logic just wasn't there. It was a tiny crack, but it was there, a sliver of understanding that this narrative of blame I was spinning wasn't about me at all, but about his choices. Those sessions were tough, but they started to give me a framework for pushing back against the emotional hijacking. One of the first, most concrete things I did was mute them both on every platform. It wasn't about forgetting. It was about protecting myself. I remember sitting there, my thumb hovering over the mute button on Instagram. A part of me screamed to keep them unmuted, to keep tabs, to inflict that pain on myself, almost as if I deserved it. No, I thought, this isn't helping me. This is actively harming me. It wasn't an emotional decision driven by anger, but a deliberate act of self-preservation. That simple click felt like the heaviest lift I'd done in weeks. But once it was done, the silence, The absence of their smiling faces on my feed was a profound relief. It's not like the trauma magically disappeared. The nightmares still come, though a little less frequently, and the panic attacks are still there. But now I have tools. Dr. Lee taught me: breathing exercises, ways to ground myself when my body starts to betray me. I started channeling the energy I used to spend dissecting their every public move into myself. I picked up an old hobby, something I loved but had neglected for years. It felt small, almost insignificant, but focusing on the intricate details of a project, the colors, the textures, it forced my brain to focus on something other than them. It was a conscious decision. This energy is mine now. It belongs to me, not to analyzing their happiness. I still see glimpses of them sometimes, maybe through a mutual connection, and a part of me automatically tenses up, waiting for the familiar ache. But now, it's different. I might see a photo, and instead of spiraling into why not me, I can, for a brief second, observe it more objectively. They look happy, yes, but I also notice the slight tension in his smile, or the way she's holding onto him a little too tightly. Maybe it's not the perfect, effortless happiness I once perceived. Maybe it never was. And even if it is perfect, I'm starting to understand that their story isn't my story anymore. My peace, my slowly emerging sense of self, is a different kind of happy, one built on a foundation of truth, not deceit. This journey is far from over. Some days I feel like I'm making progress, and others I feel like I'm right back at the beginning, swallowed whole by the grief and anger. The temptation to fall back into old patterns of self-blame, or to obsess over what they're doing, is incredibly strong. It's like a magnetic pull, trying to drag me back into that familiar, painful comfort zone. How do you keep reminding yourself, every single day, to choose the hard path of healing and self-focus, when the easier, though destructive, path of obsession and self-pity feels so much more familiar? What are your go-to strategies for staying anchored in your own recovery, especially when the world seems to keep throwing reminders of them your way?